Half of your marketing budget is bleeding money. The trouble is you do not know which half of it is wasting your money. In today's episode of the podcast, I'm going to be walking you through the things that is making your marketing budget waste money. And I'm going to be talking to you about things that you can do to fix that problem. I'm going to be talking to you about real life practical experiences. I've worked with international, large multinational organizations, e-commerce and B2B. I've worked with startups. I've worked with medium-sized organizations. I'm going to be walking you through things that I've seen that is causing marketing budget to be wasted. A lot of organizations till this day is still wasting marketing budget. This podcast is going to be structured into different sections. Sources that waste marketing budget. I'm going to be talking about the metrics and KPIs. How is that making you waste marketing budget, you might ask? I'm going to be talking about internal and external skills. That is a major source of marketing budget waste. I'm going to be talking about the problem of content production processes. The lack of it, that's another major problem. I'm going to be talking about your traffic sources. That is a very, very important issue in most marketing teams that is often ignored. Some marketing organizations don't even know they have that problem. I'm going to be talking about website intent. How is your website structured? What are the technical issues? How is your website making you waste money? You'll be surprised about how many websites are the problem with their marketing. And then I'm going to be talking about email efficiencies. All these things grouped together is going to be important to let you understand how you're wasting marketing budget. If you're new to this podcast and you're watching on YouTube, remember to subscribe, like, and share. And if you're listening on other podcast platforms, remember to also like, subscribe, and share this with your friends and colleagues. So let's start with KPIs and metrics. The problem with marketing is you find people measuring the wrong KPI, measuring the wrong metric. And the big problem with marketing is also down to attribution modeling. A lot of software organization, analytics measurement organization has sold us this lie that you can measure everything. There's some things in marketing that you cannot measure. There's something that will always remain qualitative. Although there's certain metrics, Net Promoter Score and other metrics that is created to give that illusion that you can measure it. Some things you cannot measure. But the problem then is if you cannot measure it, if you cannot track it, the default is like, why should you do it if you cannot measure it? That is one problem with marketing. So let me start with a story. I once worked with an organization and I just realized quickly that, okay, the problem with that organization was conversion. They weren't converting. So when I was doing the analytics and trying to communicate to the CMO that, okay, this is a problem. When people land on those individual landing pages on the website, I try to explain to her that people don't spend enough time across the website, but people don't spend enough time on each of these individual pages. They don't have enough time to consume this content. So it's very, very difficult for them to convert. This individual chose to ignore that metric and rather focused on conversion. What I'm trying to highlight here is when you are focusing on the wrong metric and focusing on the wrong KPI, don't get me wrong, conversion is important. Getting people to complete a lead form is important. But when you have a landing page and you have people spending less than 30 seconds on that page, not even enough time for them to consume the content or enough time for them to fill out a lead generation form, and you're not focusing on that important metric that, okay, we need to increase the time on site. We need to optimize the content flow on each pages, the interaction within the pages of the website, to make sure that people stay on the website. She ignored that advice. The reason why I'm using this as an example is because rather than me telling you about good examples, I like to tell you bad examples. So if you're doing that kind of thing at the moment, you realize that, okay, you really need to improve. So the kind of metrics that marketing teams measure is a big problem because that metric in most instances is a vanity metric. You find organization creating charts, dashboards, and those dashboards are to make them feel better. In most instances, those dashboards don't necessarily relate with the bottom line when it comes to profit, not revenue. So one major marketing problem, one major thing that is leaking your marketing budget is tracking the wrong KPI. So ask yourself the question, what are the right KPIs that you should be tracking? I'm not going to give you a generic KPI, but this is something that you need to look at. If you are tracking vanity metrics, then there's a high chance that your marketing budget is being wasted. Another question you need to ask yourself is, how often should you look at your metrics? How often should you analyze this KPI? This is subjective as well. Depending on the sales cycle, if you're B2B, if you're B2C, then you need to look at, okay, what time of the month do people normally convert? What is the normal duration when people convert? So all this metric, you need to kind of look at it from a seasonality perspective. You need to understand your customer, understand what their purchase process and cycle is. That would then give you the answer to how often should you check your metric. There's that default where people would try and check their marketing metrics and KPI on a daily basis. Sometimes it's difficult for you to get a pattern. The goal of tracking your metric is to get a pattern to understand customer behavior. If you're over analyzing those metrics, then it becomes a problem. So what I'm trying to say is, if you're checking your metrics on a daily basis, you don't give enough time for it to gather enough insight. If you're checking it on a weekly basis, you still don't give enough time. Ideally, you want to be looking at your metric for a 3-month period. That is like from a quarterly to quarterly basis, depending on your particular organization. So that's why I said it's important to understand your customer, understand their purchase behavior, understand everything you need to know from a qualitative and quantitative perspective. That would then inform you on how regularly you need to check your metrics. For this KPI is important. If you're tracking the wrong KPI, you're definitely wasting your marketing budget. If you're tracking vanity metrics, you're definitely wasting your marketing budget. The solution is to identify those KPIs that links to profitability, those KPIs that links to brand growth, those KPI that increases brand equity, those KPIs that links to customer experience. That is how you avoid marketing waste from a KPI standpoint. So the next thing that is wasting your marketing budget is internal skill and external skill. What do I mean by this? If you look at the skill capability of your marketing team and you look at the external skill capability of your agency, you need to ask yourself the question, do we have the best-in-class skill internally? Do we have the best-in-class skill externally from our agency partners? Based on real-life experiences, I'll tell you for free, the reason why companies, organizations hire agencies is because they expect those agencies to have best-in-class skill that they need. But the problem with this is the processes. The processes at which internal teams work is disjointed compared to the processes which agencies work is disjointed. So you have a situation where the blind is leading the blind. Again, this is coming from real life practical experiences. In most organizations, you have leadership that do not understand how to develop skill capability. This is not a general statement. In some organizations, the main reason why they're wasting marketing budget is because they do not have the right skill within their organization. If you have all the marketing budget in the world, but the skill and capability of your internal team is not equipped, they do not have the right combination of skill that you need to get the best out of your marketing, that would invariably waste your marketing budget. Let me give you an example. You have a marketing team that comprises of a CMO and someone that does PPC. That is what you find in most organizations. Small in-house team. They might even have someone that does SEO, have someone that does analytics. But in some organizations, you would hardly find someone that produces content with the right skill set to map to the customer journey. Look at the agency you're working with. Do they have a solid content production team? Now I'm talking about external skill. From an external skills perspective, I worked with an organization recently where the in-house team did not have a content production person. The external team did not even have a content production person, but they had the skills and capability to create SEO strategy and Google Ads paid advertising strategy. They did not have the skill within the team to produce text and video content. What I'm trying to say here, this is a marketing waste because you're trying to optimize everything at the top of the funnel that brings traffic. But the thing that actually converts, the content that actually converts, you do not have that skill capability in-house. That is a problem. When you now start looking at agency partners, how is that a marketing budget waste? In situation where your agency partners do not have the skill and capability, but from an integrity standpoint, they tell you they have those skills. Now people use ChatGPT to make themselves look more skillful than they are. And they use those kind of tools to optimize your marketing. You are bound to waste your marketing budget because you do not have that detailed skill. ChatGPT AI cannot replace human skills. It can only help it. So this is a major marketing budget waste that I've seen. So you need to ask yourself the question, if you're going to fix this problem, what are the skill gap within your marketing team? And how is that skill gap wasting money? You see a lot of organizations ignore skill development. What I mean by this is ask yourself the question, what does your development, training and development for your marketing team, what does that roadmap look like? Do you even have a roadmap? I've worked in teams in the past where anybody coming from the junior part of the marketing team has a mapped out training and development roadmap for them to upscale from entry level to director level. Does your marketing team has a training and development roadmap for each skill to create someone from a one skill person to a T-shaped skill person? These are the kind of things you need to put in place to reduce the waste of your marketing budget. Find out the skill gaps in your team and create a skill development roadmap. When you do this, that would reduce your reliance on external agencies. And when you're reducing your reliance on your external agencies, when you can have everything in-house in your marketing function, then you're not wasting money on agency fees. Those money you can then spend on creating effective and better marketing that would increase your revenue. Don't get me wrong, I'm not advocating that agencies are bad, but what I am saying is there's a sweet spot when you're working with marketing agencies. In my personal opinion, a marketing agency that has too many clients, what I'm trying to say is if the marketing agency is very successful, if they have too many clients, that is bad for you. They will not be able to give you the time, the focus that you need to get the best of your marketing. So this invariably leads to the waste of your marketing budget, because if you have an agency that you're working with as your agency partner that has a lot of clients, then you're not going to get the best because they will have divided attention. They'll be juggling different clients and that would affect the quality of what they do for you. So what's the solution to this? The solution is to in-house your marketing team. But you also need, in some instances, to have agency support. But that's where you then look at the kind of agency you hire. There are large agencies, there are mid-sized agencies, and there's small agencies. There's specialist agencies. These are things you need to look at individually. There's no one size fits all. For some organizations that are global, multinational, you do need the big agencies with global reach. For smaller organizations, you also need to tailor your agency support to make sure that it helps you from reducing your marketing expenditure. Another major way that your marketing is bleeding money is your content production process. If you ask different marketing organizations or marketing teams or even CMOs what their content production process looks like, it's going to be difficult for you to have a marketing organization that has a clear, mapped out, documented content production process. It doesn't happen because content production is an afterthought. The reason why I emphasize on this is because content production means different things to different people. When you talk about content production, someone in SEO is going to think it's content production for SEO, on-page SEO. If you talk to someone that works in maybe actual content design, they'll be talking about, content production is for content for the website. If you talk to someone in paid search, they'll be talking about, content production is for content for assets that you use. So there are different definitions of content production. And then the content production when it comes to offline marketing, content production when it comes to PR, when it comes to brand. And when you have an offline location, your content production is different. This is a major waste of marketing budget. Why is this a waste? Because in most organizations across the board, there is hardly, I've not seen, a centralized content production team. What I mean by centralized content production is where that centralized hub is looking at content production from a customer journey perspective, online, offline, all content interaction that impacts on the brand. Some large organizations have this nailed, but it's a hard thing to come by. And if you look at smaller organizations, they do this effectively, especially in situations where they have a subject matter expert. The problem why this is a problem when it comes to wasting marketing budget is you find situation where an organization will outsource content production to an external agency. That external agency, in some scenarios, will outsource it to an offshore content writer. Lately, they outsource that content production to AI platforms. The quality of that content is then suboptimal. And then if you then take that content and then you start pouring paid advertising on that content is bad quality to start with. That content is not even mapped in a way that it has synergy with other platforms, other channels. That then leads to a fragmented approach to content. This is a situation where people expect one piece of content to do awareness, engagement, and conversion. It just doesn't happen that way. So this is something I've seen walking across the board in organizations, small, large, medium, and startup. Content production is a major waste of marketing budget when it's done wrong. Because you have stale, bad content that you start pouring Google ads, paid advertising traffic, and then you complain that you're not getting conversion. You complain that you're not getting sales. You complain that your marketing budget is wasted because you do not realize that the foundation of your marketing is based on the quality of the content. If you look at organizations that have had good success online, you look at even software solution companies, they were built on the solid foundation of content. You look at all the thought leaders, people you got thought leaders out there. What made them thought leaders is the content that they produce. And then when you then layer the traffic, paid advertising, organic, whatever traffic source and channel they and whatever placement they have, that's how they became best in class. But this is something that is ignored by broader marketing teams. And this is one major area where marketing budget is wasted. I'll give you another example. I worked with this CMO, and I quickly realized that the focus was just primarily on increasing Google Ads budget, increasing paid advertising budget, just pouring money at acquisition without a content audit. And that was wasting money seriously. So what I tried to do was help the organization understand the customer journey, help them understand what the customer wants, what are the pain points. And based from that conversation, the thinking shift. They're like, oh, this is what the customer wants. Hang on a minute, we don't have content to cater to that. Then the questions started coming in. How do we create the content? What do we do? So this is what you need to do to reduce wasting your marketing budget. You need to make sure that you do an end-to-end content audit. I have another podcast episode that I talked about content audit process. Go watch that podcast and listen and understand how to do and create and implement a content production workflow that would help you reduce the waste of your marketing budget. Another way that you're wasting your marketing budget is through focusing on one marketing channel. This is a very common problem in organizations where they feel that they get the most traffic and the most conversion from one channel. That is just not true. You can either have a channel that gets you paid traffic, where you can control the kind of traffic you get, the kind of intent you get, but that doesn't guarantee that you can control the quality of that traffic. What I mean by this is the default marketing channel that wastes the highest money is paid advertising. Organizations over the years has focused so much on paid advertising. While the cost of paid advertising is going up, the quality, again, is questionable if you do not have good content, like I mentioned earlier on. If your content is not optimized really well, you're bound to waste money. The reason why I say this is a waste of money is because when you focus on one single channel, you do it at the detriment of other marketing channels. And the reason why is because we expect one channel to do acquisition, engagement, conversion, and post-purchase. But it just doesn't work like that. Each channel that you have in your arsenal will boost one stage of the customer purchase process effectively. I'm not saying you can't use paid search to optimize for different phases, but what I'm trying to say is in the instance of paid search, it is very effective for high intent people that are ready to convert. Whilst you can use paid advertising to get brand awareness, it becomes expensive quickly and it becomes a waste of money quickly. This is where you then look at your marketing channel mix. The reason why I'm saying this is a huge chunk of marketing budget is allocated to paid advertising while other channels are ignored because of attribution modeling, attribution model scams. What I'm trying to say here is there are instances where you have channels that act as assisted conversion, channels that are organic, channels that are free, channels that you can't necessarily track and link their conversion, but they impact on your conversion. This is the gray area where you actually need to understand your customers. Once you understand your customers, when I mean customer, not just one, over a long period, you do qualitative insights, understand how they make their purchase decision, what influences their purchase decision. That invariably will help you reduce your reliance on one single channel. The reliance on a single marketing channel at the detriment of other channel is a major, major waste of your marketing budget. And again, the solution to this is for you to make sure you allocate your marketing channel based on demand creation, demand generation, engagement, conversion, and post-purchase. When you allocate budget across the purchase journey, across the customer life cycle, that helps you reduce waste of your marketing budget. So let's talk about one important area that also wastes marketing budget a lot is when your website is not optimized for intent. Is when your website, the technical part of your website is not optimized properly. I worked with an organization recently where they were spending almost 6 figures on Google Ads, but that website was not optimized for mobile. And quickly, when I was hired, I highlighted this to them. Like, listen, this website's mobile interaction is bad. I looked at the analytics. I quickly realized, hang on a minute. Your mobile gets more than 80% of your traffic. But this organization had been working, spending Google Ads money, fired a few agencies previously, and none of those agencies mentioned to them that your mobile, whilst your mobile website is optimized from a layout perspective, it's not actually optimized for conversion. And there are a lot of conversion killers on your mobile website. Again, I've done a podcast episode on conversion killers. Go have a listen and learn about conversion killers. But what am I trying to say here? One major marketing budget waste is when you've ignored the technical issues on your website and you're focusing on acquisition. You're just focusing on Google Ads. Google Ads, that's what everybody thinks about. But you're forgetting that Google Ads is bringing traffic somewhere. And when that traffic gets there, that traffic is wasted because people will not convert. That is how you're wasting your marketing budget, because you've ignored the most important part of the journey when they get to your website. And when I talk about website intent, you have a website that is getting different traffic sources. People coming directly that know about your brand through word of mouth marketing, come to your website, direct marketing, TV ads, radio ads, social media mentions. All these things bring traffic to your website. But you then have a situation where that same website is optimized just for one traffic channel. When you focus too much on optimizing your website just for SEO, because you want to rank on Google, and you then pour in Google Ads traffic to that same website without tailoring that experience for each channel, that is a major way most organizations are wasting their marketing budget. And what's the solution? The solution is simple. Making sure that every of those stakeholders involved has a say in how you allocate those marketing budgets. When they have a say in that, they can then create a roadmap to optimize for each of their channel when they have a seat at the table. But the problem with marketing is the marketing budget is allocated without the input and involvement of the execution team. That is one major way marketing budgets are wasted. So my recommendation to you is to look at your marketing budget and make sure the allocation is done with the execution team present and with their input. Now let's talk about email sequence. I'm a big advocate of email efficiencies. The problem I've seen with marketing budget being wasted is when you have bounce rate issues and people just come, you've spent so much money getting traffic through paid advertising, they land on your website, and before you know it, they've left. And you've not done anything to capture their emails. You've not done anything, even when you capture their email, to make sure that it is optimized in a way to make sure that you bring them back. You remind them, you nudge them back to make sure they come back and convert. That ignorance, ignoring that email efficiency across the board is a major, major waste of your marketing budget. I've worked with large organizations that I've worked with previously, and I'm subscribed to their email newsletter. And sometimes I just get random emails like once in 2 months, once in 3 months. And you can sense that there is no strategy behind the email approach because, again, the marketing budget has not been allocated the right way. And that lack of allocation efficiency causes waste of your marketing budget. My name is Femi Olajiga. I'm a marketing consultant. I've helped CEOs, CMOs to craft and design their marketing budget to make sure that the marketing budget is not wasted. If you need help looking at your marketing budget, reach out to me. I can help you look at the ways you can improve the effectiveness of your marketing budget. And the reason why I'm talking about this is marketing budget is always allocated at the beginning of the year. It's a set it and forget it approach. In my 2017 book, Lean Agile Marketing, one of the ways to improve the effectiveness of your marketing budget is to make sure that you have applied agile principles to it. You create a flexible marketing budget where if money is wasted from one channel and you're able to identify that that channel is not performing in an optimal way, you have the flexibility to move money around different marketing channels. You have the flexibility of taking money from a marketing channel and allocating it to training and development, upskilling your marketing team to make sure they get the best when it comes to implementing your marketing. Like I said, if this is your first time of listening to the podcast on YouTube, subscribe, like, and share. If you're listening to it on all other podcast platforms, make sure you like, subscribe, and share as well. My name is Femi Olajiga. I am available for one-to-one coaching and consulting. Send me a LinkedIn connection, ping me an email through my website, and I'll be looking forward to hearing from you. Thank you. Bye.